It's just been like home.
Bushwick for me is home.
Bushwick is a melting pot.
It was the first place that I ever felt home in.
It feels like a bed that you've had for a very long time. If you sleep in another bed, it doesn't feel right. But then you go to your bed, and you're like, that's right.
Bushwick, New York, historically known as a gritty immigrant neighborhood. During the 1960s and 70s, a wave of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans moved in. Now, they are still the primary group in the neighborhood. 21-year-old Bianca Perez lives with her mother, Rosario, who immigrated to Bushwick in the 1980s.
My mother's from Dominican Republic, although I was born here. I mean, I was a bit of a latchkey kid. I just remember a lot of people hanging out, playing dominoes on the sidewalk, and salsa playing really loud. Felt like probably what living in Dominican Republic would be like.
But the neighborhood wasn't perfect. Crime spiked after the New York City blackout in 1977. Drugs, robberies, and murders plagued the area. NYPD crime reports show there were 77 murders in 1990 alone. But that's not the Bushwick of today. The 83rd Police Precinct reports show that robbery, homicide, and assault are down. New police policies in the 90s increased police presence in the neighborhood. At first, Bianca was excited about her new neighbors.
I felt like gentrification was going to provide me with that kind of culture that I felt I was missing out on because I lived here. I realized I wouldn't be able to enjoy it because I wouldn't be able to live here anymore.
As crime decreases, real estate prices spike, which threatens longtime residents who cannot afford new rents. Bianca has lived in the same apartment her whole life, but 3 years ago, her landlord tried to evict her and her mother. Since then, Bianca has been helping her mother with the legal case against him.
Gentrification to me now, it's very attractive on the outside, and it looks very nice, and it's dressed up in a very beautiful way, but I think there's kind of an ugly side to it that is not really spoken about because people feel very powerless in how to help themselves and help others.
After she began fighting to keep her home, Bianca grew more interested in community activism.
I'm interested in advocacy and things like that, and I'm learning every day as I go on. It's also a thing of me having some sort of amount of belief, self-belief, which is also a thing a lot of young people struggle with.
Around the same time Bianca started getting more involved, the state of New York passed a law that allows residents 16 and older to join the community board. The law helps engage the younger demographic in politics and decision-making. One of Bushwick's council members, Rafael Espinal, plans to inform more high schoolers about the community board law.
To have many youths from the local high schools come into my office to advocate on issues that they believe in. I think that they'll be able to start laying their foundation and their roots and understanding what's happening around them. Even though it's happening very quickly and it's something that it's tough to slow down, but I think that they're more knowledgeable on what's going on.
The law is still new, so many residents are still unaware of their ability to be on the board. Instead of being involved in politics, the younger demographic uses various artistic media to start conversations and bridge the gap between local and new residents. Bianca and 24-year-old Anthony Rosado are working on curating a panel and exhibition to showcase the thoughts of native Bushwick artists.
I'm in collaboration with Bushwick Art Group to curate a native Bushwick artist lecture series. We intend on presenting our work and meeting gallery owners and curators. And our work is currently themed under the issues of gentrification that affect us most, our expression-based responses. It's perfect. We're going to be talking to a community of like 80 to 90 like predominantly gentrifying white visual artists.
This is called Flesh Tint, and this is for me my last bit of glorification for white hierarchies. And so the reason it's called Flesh Tint is because one day I picked up one of my tubes of paint and the shit said Flesh Tint. Now, that's not my flesh.
I just feel like there has to be some sort of way to incorporate both things where people from a low-income position in life can still enjoy creative things.
Bushwick has long been home to hip-hop, street art, and various other art forms. Nissa Frank moved to Bushwick 7 years ago and founded a space called the Living Gallery in 2012. She supports local and new artists by hosting events for them.
We really want to keep it local, and we really want to keep it emerging artists or artists who've never gotten the chance to show their art. That was always the mission. It just kind of happened. I wanted to do kids projects, and I wanted to celebrate Bushwick and be a part of the community.
The Living Gallery reaches out to young people with Brooklyn Acts, a free performance arts organization for teenagers in the community. 17-year-old John Trelon and his friend, 16-year-old Esteban Estevez, expressed their thoughts through songs and plays.
What's good about art is like it spawns like conversations and stuff. Especially in rap, it's all words, so you could take words in so many ways. Whatever like I experience or see, that's what I tend to rap about. Sharing of experiences so people can understand what you're going through. Or maybe they don't have to understand it, but they know what's happening.
I think art is important because art, for one, is always been the starter of revolution. And in so doing, gaining allies. And that's my intention, just to have conversation, because conversation inherently like plants seeds within your own mind and with other people's minds, Like it can either spark you to just think about a bunch of things or spark you to say something to someone else and it triggers them to have a response, and like that'll go somewhere. Or even in and out of itself, that conversation is beautiful. But the going somewhere is kind of like what I essentially want to happen overall. I just wish people who moved out here did a little more research on the place that they were moving into. These big loft spaces that they're living in that they're calling lofts were factories. I wonder how they would feel if they knew.
Some gentrifiers are already becoming informed. Serena Elderstein, an NYU student and Bushwick resident, started a club last year called Know Your City. The club hosts panels and encourages people to check their building's rent history to prevent illegal price destabilization.
I want everyone who moves off campus to get their rent history so that they know if their unit was ever rent stabilized and if there's a possibility that it was illegally deregulated. People could just be real about where they come from, their positionality in that community, to acknowledge and be respectful of the community that they're moving into, and trying to, work with their neighbors and each other neighbors to stop this fast-paced development.
So if there can be an understanding, maybe from the native side, an understanding that there is some ignorance that needs to be accepted, and from the gentrifiee side, an understanding that there is going to be some animosity, and that's okay. All this being said, I do have faith. I have a lot of hope.
Anthony isn't the only resident who has faith in Bushwick's future, but some residents have faith in something else.
The only thing that I feel, that I think can really bridge the gap between hip-hop and hipster is the gospel.
29-year-old native resident Danny Torres plans to establish a long-lasting religious institution called Swerve Church. Danny wants to give back to his community and help it evolve.
I would love to see more unity cross-culturally, cross-socially, crossing socioeconomic barriers. That's something that I would love to see happen. I'm not saying that the church is the magical solution to that. I think Bushwick has a nice feel of community in it. I think that's something that, as planting a church, it's not our job to preserve it, man, but to come alongside of it and to celebrate it and to join in and to be a part of it as well. That's a regular.
Well, one of my favorite phrases that I created was celebrating Bushwick in its undefinable glory. For me, at least, it's undefinable, and I think that people need to embrace that more instead of being like, this is my Bushwick. Are you Bushwick? Who's Bushwick? What's Bushwick? Just it's everything. It's all of us.
I feel very protective about defending the things about this neighborhood that made it attractive in the first place. I'd much rather live here as long as I can and be able to keep my dignity.
I keep my memories of, what Bushwick used to smell like and what it used to sound like, because I get snippets of it every now and then, Bushwick for me is what it was. This is my home,
There is a general understanding that if something is not done, the things that people love about Bushwick will not be the same. There is still tension, but young people are hopeful that the connection between art and politics can overcome that tension.